Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Deacon, Boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts. It's Sarah. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else for great memes.
Okay. This echo.
Yo, should
Well-
I try to join a local Masonic lodge?
Well, depends, I guess. I mean, if you wanted to, then it's probably cool. But then you can't like talk about certain things, and that would probably be kind of lame.
Like what? What can I talk about?
They have like rules about secrecy, so you have to like keep certain things secret. So
I mean,
things
I
you
don't-
already talk about that you already know about that you would like YouTube about.
oh yeah, you're right. That's true. You have
That's
a
the
good
thing.
point.
You probably already said.
I'm back
things. Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Colin's here, which has been like a long time. What's up, Colin? Look at you.
Hey, everybody. I miss
Colonizing.
everyone.
He's
I'm
colonizing.
so sad. I
America.
shouldn't have. Right, I got to colonize, and I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to.
All right,
Oh,
so
you
maybe
were-
if
So
I
I
join
do
a Masonic,
apologize.
maybe if I join a Masonic lodge, they'll be all like, "All right, we'll let you in, but you can only stay at like low levels, like a 7th degree Mason or like a 3rd degree Mason or something."
No, I mean you can do the. I mean you can do. Well, so it's like 3 degrees that you have to do that are the most important, and after that, it's like you can join these like smaller kinds of groups of masonry, like the Scottish Rite or the York Rite or something like that, and they have more degrees. So 3 degrees are the ones that are like entered apprentice, fellow craftsman, master mason.
And then
Those are
master, yeah.
Those are like the 3 major ones that everyone has to do. And then beyond that, if you're like in a small secret club like the Scottish Rite, people say like 33rd degree Mason, they're just talking about the Scottish Rite, but not everybody has 33 degrees or not every.
Yeah, and then there's the York, right? That's like 13 degrees or something like that, right?
yeah.
I would probably approach it like the Boy Scouts. Andreas, you were a scout, right? You made it to
I was.
Eagle, or you made it to Eagle Scout.
I did do the entire course and then ended up as a private first class because I didn't go to the last page. I mean, I did the 250-hour community service project, did everything I was supposed to do, but there's a complicated history to the Boy Scouts because the Boy Scouts also becomes another group.
Yeah.
There's a group called the what's it called, the Adventurers, like this whole other group that exists. It's like boys and girls can be a part of, and that happens at Eagle Scout. Essentially, there's a whole other 3-year program that exists, and then there's more of them that are connected to ROTC. So it depends on what you want to do. You can go like really far with the Scout program. I don't actually think they still are doing the same thing. Also, I think the Scout program changed a lot in the last like 5 years.
100%, yeah, because of all the lawsuits.
Yeah,
I was like, "Where's my
lawsuits
lawsuit? I didn't get molested." Or
and there
anything.
were not just it's Facebook, yeah, but there's also the whole thing with like trans in they were like allowing trans or not allowing trans or something like that. Like the whole, I don't know, like basically the boy part of Boy Scouts disintegrated.
Just scouts. We're just scouts now.
Yeah. But that was a thing that did exist, right? Like you could get to a group that allowed for women, you know.
Well, the Masons are a boys only group for sure. So I'd
Yeah.
be in there. I'd be like, this is just like the Boy Scouts, right, guys? Like we go camping
It
sometimes.
is
like-
exactly the same. Not exactly, but there are secret parts of Boy Scouts, and Boy Scouts will have rituals. They'll give you these weird scarves that you
Yes.
wear. You go to the night,
and
they
then
have
you
this-
gotta do the whole like. There's a motto. There's the
memorization.
Yeah, the
all
oath.
that stuff.
on
Yeah.
my honor, I will do my duty to honor my country and blah 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 blah.
And you have to do these oaths in these
Yeah.
lodges at certain times facing the east. You know, it's just a lot more. It's a little weirder than it needs to be. For sure.
With like the checkered flooring, that really throws me off. Like I
A
don't
lot of
know how
time
you
it's the
feel
same lodge. It used to be that it was the same lodge. I went to several different troops, and so one of the troops I went to did its meeting at a lodge that was clearly a Masonic lodge. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. The two troops I was in, Troop 85 and Troop 5, they clearly had ties with like the Rotary Club or something. And
Yeah.
and probably the Masons, because they're like, I'm sure, connected.
And Mormons loved at least at the time the Boy Scouts. That was something that they had a Boy Scout troop that met at the church, and it was like every week.
Oh, they were
And
huge about it. And
Yeah,
I
you
was
get
I was
through
a Cub
the Boy-
Scout, and so like all the little Mormons, they kind of like they made it hard for us because they weren't sure whether to include us in everything because they had their own thing going from being Boy Scouts that were all Mormon, and so like we were always kind of fighting to try and figure like why didn't you invite us to this function or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Because we were like the non-Mormon, in a very Mormon
yeah.
area. I didn't do Boy
you
Scouts,
gotta
though. I
be
just did
you gotta
Cub
be
Scouts.
Mormon. You gotta be Mormon to do because like the Boy Scout thing was like 5 days a week in between church. You would hang out with the Boy Scout troop from the church and everyone would be doing merit badges together. So rather than because normally you have to go out and pick a merit badge and do it on your own, and that's like complicated. But if you could just do hundreds of merit badges because everyone's doing 5 merit badges a week, one person's house and the other person's house, right?
So,
Do auto mechanic at their house.
I was gonna say there's also the events. Like a typical Boy Scout camping trip is like a fucking weekend. But then they have these events in the summertime usually where it's like a 2-week long camping trip where it's like all the different troops congregate and then you basically fall in line with these programs that are essentially just fast tracks to merit badges. It's like, well, have you ever wanted your rifling merit badge? Well, we have a shooting range here for you to qualify and earn it.
Yeah, true. Those are like the points of the summer camps is to get all of those done. But the Mormons made it free because it'd be like you go to someone's parents' house and they do the auto mechanic merit badge on somebody's car on Monday, and then Tuesday they go to do track or something like that, and they'll do all the track merit badge. And Wednesday they go to the park and do some sort of park thing with one of the dads. So the whole community comes together to facilitate this every week for months and months or for years, right? So they're just rapidly getting through all of the merit badges. And maybe you're on your own. I was on my own. I thought a decent amount of merit badges. I think I had 40 or something at a certain point that had accumulated on this ranking. And there were these Mormon dudes who had hundreds of merit badges, literally 146 or 200 merit badges, because they just did them all the freaking time. And they all had the same ones.
Their entire body is just covered in merit badges.
They had this freaking like Disney World. They're wearing a shawl that's just covered in merit badges. But
some Masonic shit. And also I mean, look, the Boy Scouts weren't perfect. Obviously, they had serious problems, but
apparently,
I gotta say,
Facebook ads,
I don't think the American young male population has been better off without the Scouts.
Totally, yeah. The world was definitely better when everybody was a Boy Scout. I don't know, because everyone knew how to make a fire. Maybe that was more dangerous, but it was worth it.
Yeah, I think the stupidest thing we did in the Scouts was we would take turns trying to pee or touch an electric fence near a farm or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we had basket weaving and computer programming, and there's a lot of interesting things that they teach you. in the Boy Scouts. Ropes, knots, right? All of the stuff that you would learn. Like, so I think all of it comes out of being a ship hand.
First aid is
Anyway.
good. First aid is good. Like learning how to treat minor wounds like burns, poisoning, like poison oak, poison sumac, poison ivy. That shit's
And, like,
annoying, especially when you get it.
Like, how
What
do you
does it
hold them
seem
in?
like the more secular the society has become, the more that people were like down on the Boy Scouts? Like maybe
'cause Boy
that's
Scouts
just my
believe in God.
perspective, and maybe
It's in
that's
the-
not fair.
I'm pretty sure it's in the oath, right? Like they swear an oath to God.
God and
too.
country, right?
I think so, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Boy Scouts were just like a little too blindly patriotic during the Bush administration period. At least it was the wrong time, because a lot of people were pushing on being critical of the state, right? And it was a confluence of things, because usually what you do is you've got one state actor, like the Republicans can then make the Democrats look good, and then the Democrats can make the Republicans look good, and that way you can constantly flip back and forth. But there was just this perfect confluence of things and the internet that made everything look bad at that time. And so you're like, I can't trust anything. Why would you, like September 11th on, like, and I feel like maybe that's just very specifically me, but I knew a lot of Boy Scouts that were strict nerds.
Yeah,
like
me too.
computer programmers and things like that. And
So
so
I think there's a lot of that goes into it.
you had access to a lot of videos. At that time, you had more access, like proportionally more access to things than we have now, and less people had access to things. There were less people with computers that knew how to use Nutella networks or any sort of file exchange to get these things. So these few people were seeing more of the September 11th footage from weird angles and things like that. And I think it made it really hard to stick with patriotism. And Boy Scouts really pushed this whole thing of just like, you're supposed to like cry when you see them burn a flag and all these things, right? So it's a hard sell, and there wasn't like another alternative. There should have been more things. If there was like the D-Malay was more popular, or there was some sort of Egyptian transgender scouts program.
Well, if you lived in like California,
Yeah, that would have done it.
you would join the McDojo like Cobra Kai or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Again, with like, it's confusing that's not a bigger deal, that more people don't know karate. That should just be everyone should have to do karate, and there should have to be water slides in every town. Basically.
Yeah, but if you're like a kid and you have a choice, like between spending your Saturdays like having to go to the fucking karate school, put on the stupid pajamas and do the karate moves, or you could stay home and just play video games and chill with the boys online. Like I could see why. I mean, I agree with you, Andreas. It's just I see why, thinking like a 12-year-old boy, like fuck that shit.
Dude, if there were more water slide parks in every town, that's the other thing, because it's like a social interaction thing that like puts everyone together, and it makes you all like everyone's like moving around, they're all sliding around and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's the answer.
I mean, if you really look at all like the influencers, like the proto influencers who really weren't influencing anything, they just like filmed cool shit, doing cool shit. I think a lot of them were generally like able to do that because they just were the vibe, right? Like, the dancing violin girl, I think she dated this this video producer guy, and he was like one of the early mavericks of like crazy YouTube videos. Like they would do like crazy bungee swinging.
Dancing violin girl?
Yeah, I think her name is, I don't know. She's the one that got shot all over by like the guy from American Idol. He's like, there's
Lindsay Sterling?
Yeah, Lindsay Sterling's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend was the guy who made all these videos, I think, or who jump-started her career pretty much.
Interesting.
It's
not her right here.
Yeah.
And she dances and plays the violin.
Yeah, but it's like electric violin sometimes, heavily produced over some dubstep backing tracks, shit like that.
My God. All right. Okay. And then she just became famous because she like embodies the lifestyle.
No, it's her boyfriend was the video producer. He was the guy who made like all these crazy videos. Aspirational, I would say. Like, if you're a young aspirational kid. This is back when like kids really actually wanted to be like the Abercrombie kids, like chilling on the beach with like really expensive clothes on and shit.
Dude. What is the Abercrombie kid lifestyle like? What is that like a real allure of establishmentarianism?
Well, it's racist now. Like, didn't Abercrombie and Fitch get like serious heat because the
Like
guy was
human trafficking.
Well, that probably, I wouldn't be surprised. The guy was
Yeah, he
like,
was a bad
yeah,
guy,
yeah, hell Satan. You know, like maybe.
yeah. I think they were just like human trafficking and all. They're doing some weird stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like it's it's establishmentarianism. So it's the same thing as the Boy Scouts was at a certain point. They were pushing for accepting of the state and saying like we're living in like the best case scenario and that we should embrace statism.
The best of all possible worlds.
Yeah, I don't know. Things were not that way. More people were, it seems like emo was a greater, the counterculture was a bigger movement than the mainstream. And the mainstream was Abercrombie and establishmentarianism.
Well, also like emo itself, the subculture was, I guess, really like the music was very foundational to it. Specifically, My Chemical Romance.
That was connected to Abercrombie, you think?
Oh no! I just mean emo. Like,
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it feels like they're counter, which is weird, right? Because even Abercrombie had like shredded jeans. Like shredded was like a thing.
Well, it's because whether you're a rich kid or a poor kid, if you're white, you could be emo. It's allowed.
Because emo was kind of in the vein of goth, trying to be counterculture. So counterculture became the mainstream because there's more people that were trying to be counterculture than were trying to be cultural.
Yeah.
Like,
from about 2003 through 2010, it kind of like switched over and like everything became liberal around that time, and it was like justifiably so as well. It was just kind of switching into that. It seems like.
Oh man, things are that bad, huh, Colin? Even for you.
I can see you with emo hair. I can see Colin with like the long hair and says like, like.
I was always an indie kid. I didn't really like emo music. I liked some of it, but I was like more into like the hardcore music and the punk and stuff like that.
Like Black Flag, Bad Brains.
Like I really liked Elliott Smith and the Shins and shit like that. Death Cab for Cutie.
Oh, that's like
okay. Fair.
Modest Mouse.
I was into shit that was way before my time in regards to punk, and then a lot of my punk friends grew into emo and scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the most time I went to a concert for Blood Brothers.
He got frozen.
There was like this crossover where I saw the Scene Kids at the Blood Brothers concert, and that was about one of the only ones I ever saw them at. And that was kind of interesting. I love that band.
Yeah. Well, at least I could say I don't hate on any of it. Like no matter what the scene was at the time, whether it was emo or punk or whatever.
But it was unusual because usually you had like the prep movement, the like establishment movement would have been the more famous or more popular, right? Like that's what pop means essentially. And it was the other way around. It was less common and less popular to dress prep or to be establishment. And it was more common, or like the more mainstream movement, I think, was this like emo movement, which is supposed to be the reactionary anti-establishment movement, but that became the normative in a weird way, especially during like the neoconservative early 21st century.
Yeah, it definitely picked up a lot of momentum to where even though it was still countercultural, it wasn't hip in any way to be like it was less and less hip to be preppy and like God and country kind of person.
Well, I mean, this reminds me of actually like just a newer manifestation of like S.E. Hinton days of the Outsiders with like the Socs and the Greasers.
How so?
I don't know, because the Socs were like the prep kids, and then the Greasers were like kind of the outsiders, quote unquote.
Yeah, but it's like the other way around again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because there's more of the other.
Do you think rich people just actively avoid like poor people?
Clearly, like yes, like the way they build their society in order to distance poor people from where they live, and
gated communities and stuff.
Yeah, and like seclude themselves, right?
Yeah. So maybe that's why. I mean, you can only be so cool as a demographic if you're just going to be like all isolationist about it. You got to have some kind of cultural export coming out of your peoples. Like, it's not like you had preps becoming like cool rappers or like starting rock bands or anything like that.
But it sort of almost was at first. So like even Avril Lavigne and Death Cab for even Death Cab for Cutie. But first off, Good Charlotte, I'm trying to say.
Oh man,
they had like ties and shirts. They were trying to do the prep thing because that was the thing to do, was to invert the prep look to be, hey, we're the counter establishment. But it became the normative, which is, I think, the issue. Like all of a sudden there was a transition where in like the 80s and the 70s and 90s, everything else, it was even psychologically that the jocks were the cool kids. It's like the same kind of thing. But then it became distanced. Like athletic didn't mean a good thing anymore. That meant like kind of a weird thing, as well as being like a nerd. Kind of similar to being a nerd to be a jock at a certain point, because you're like, oh, that person's obsessed with athleticism.
I wonder what it's like for today's high school kids. Like, I really want to know, because like when I was in high school, it was starting to get to where even the kids that were like in 10th grade were all on like harder drugs than the 10th graders when I was in 10th grade, and things like were really going crazy for a while there. And I just wonder if it just kept going. I've heard that the kids nowadays are like kind of returning more to like being like stiffs and like keeping their virginity and stuff like that. But I have no idea because I don't have any kids that are that age,
Did you see 21 Jump Street?
Yeah, the original or the
new one
with
Channing Tatum. That, I think about that movie like while you guys are talking about this, because they were like the 90s Gen Xers or whatever, graduating high school. Then they come into modern high school and they're like,
what the fuck are salts?
They're like, what are those things? Like they're pointing to ravers and shit. Yeah, or hipsters.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I love that movie, man.
That
movie
they're all
different. Like, it's not cool to like wear your backpack the same anymore or whatever. How he's like, hey, check this out. How you put it on one strap.
Yeah. You two strapping on me, bro? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that movie made like Channing Tatum's career. Honestly, that was like his real breakout role.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder about like high school today for sure. I think that it's probably gonna have a pendulum swing, because right now it's at its weirdest point, and it's been through its most liberal transformation, and I wonder how long that can last, because it's more likely to swing the way culture swings, and so it might become more reactionarily leftist still, because teachers are more reactionarily leftist. But regardless, it'll probably become more militant, because a lot of the time, in desperate times, people will start to preach more militant messages, and also because schools are used to prepare for military industrial complex. So I expect school kids to get more reactionary and maybe more trad, obviously. Like that seems like the thing that kids are doing, like you said about virginity, like kids are being more withholding of not just that, but like wanting to not see horror films or the crazy stuff on the internet, right? I think
maybe it's like the only kids even going to school these days would be inclined to be more conservative living. I mean, a part of me feels like a lot of people are just going to stop.
Everybody else just drops out.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are just going to stop giving a fuck about academia after a certain point, mostly in high school, around like your sophomore to junior year. You're really questioning your shit and you're like, what am I doing? I mean, am I really working this hard to become a fucking bank teller, to become a fucking dental assistant, to become a veterinary assistant or something? Like,
think of how crazy it would be to be a kid right now, because like they're going to be probably more focusing on their studies, because more traditional, but at the same time, like all of those people, they're the ones here in like college is a scam and all of this shit. So it's like, it's all mixed up, man. Like I just can't imagine what it's really like right now, because like they're going to be more serious about their studies, but at the same time, the liberal kids will be like wanting to be like more serious about their studies so they can like out nerd and out educate or whatever the trad kids. And it's wild, man, just to think of all of the dynamics at play right now.
Well, I also see like what Andreas said about a pendulum swing, in terms of like who gets the spotlight. Because, at first it's like when you're young, you don't really see the need for like practical shit, because everything's possible when you're like at a certain age. But then you get older And then usually the people with leverage now in like your 30s are the people who had to work shit jobs, people who had to like go through shitty living situations, and like the only ones who are still around that didn't die of like a drug overdose or ended up in jail. Like they're competent people in comparison to the other people who may have had abundance in their earlier adult years and then now are like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? You know, like what's the meaning of my life? Just pure consumption, just going from scene to scene, going to book readings, like really? Whereas you have the other guys is like, yeah, I'm working on my fucking project car. I'm going on a fishing trip with the boys. You know, it's just what we do. Like, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of DIY probably culture coming out right now. A lot of like being able to be capable, being able to learn how to work on cars
or a house.
I
like,
would just
I'm building
imagine,
a house, you know,
or on their house. Yeah, like I know how to do plumbing. What do you know how to do, you worthless liberal piece of shit? Like I don't know what they'll say, but something like that. Who knows?
That's your new pet name for people.
I mean, I don't even identify as a blue collar like you know, laborer guy, but you know, when I see the way those guys live, it's like, hey, they're doing it right. You know, they're fixing all their own shit. They're doing their best to live within their means. And
yeah,
maybe,
like that that South Park episode, like the metaverse or whatever. Or what was it? Step into the pandaverse, and like how they all can't they don't know how to fix anything, so all of the handymen become the billionaires.
Yeah,
you guys see that?
I mean, that sounds like on brand for South Park, because you could imagine that happening. You're like, wow, guess I should have worked those shit jobs when I was younger. Like,
I finally watched that like a week ago because I just never got around to watching it, and it was hilarious episode with Kathleen Kennedy.
But I mean, the real thing is, it's not, I don't want to say like suffering is the virtue here. It's really just the acquisition of skills, and, you know, like making it through suffering somehow, like at the same time makes you accumulate a lot of skills, you know, to be able to do that. So I think it's just, if you focus on like skill building, like building actual skills, and to do that, you got to have like projects to focus on. Like you need a goal, whether it's like, I want to make a song for the first time, or I want to, you know, build a stupid car that'll get me killed. I want to build a motorcycle, like what Andrew does, you know.
So different color shirts that mark different caste system. 20th century white collar, blue collar, right? So white collar, professional. So you have to have gone to university to have the white collar. Blue collar, it can be perform manual labor, skilled. So basically, usually relates to people that have gotten through like a trade school. And then pink collar is for feminine jobs, usually like caregiving or service roles, I guess. Green collar has to do with environmental sustainability. I thought this was a part of the military, but apparently that's like red collar. It's like military, public sector, government worker.
It's like Star Trek.
Yeah, right. Gold collar, highly skilled professional and specialized high demand fields, which is very Star Trek. That's like the tech craft, like Geordi LaForge
or Data,
Silicon Valley people. And then black collar, high risk, stigmatized industries, often associated with extractive, dirty work, coal miners,
underwater welding,
assassins, maybe too. I don't know. But
yeah.
Gray collar, blue and white collar, semi-skilled.
That's so me.
Dude, the gray collar sounds pretty cool, actually, though, right? That's like a Franciscan collar.
You're just the guy. Like, hey, it's the guy, the gray collar guy.
The gray man is a pretty good agent. Like, that's a good job, right? And the orange collar, it says it's for creative works, but I'm going to call it prison labor. I'm pretty sure orange collar is prison labor. Silver collar is different than gray. Older, experienced workers, retirees. Okay, silver collar. So if you're coming back in after being retired because you know something. The no collar, this is somebody who's like naked at home. So this is like Blake Lemoine or something. Like somebody, a tech worker.
Shit, I only thought there was like 3 collars.
Dude, there's got to be a purple collar. It doesn't say it, but I want purple collars. Like, so the guy who has a bunch, like a beekeeper, but he's really just
that's
a
like
hipster.
black jobs.
Yeah,
the color purple, you know.
If you just want to do something for fun and you end up beekeeping, I feel like that's purple collar. Like when you see those hipsters that like refurbish a Japanese Akia and turn it an abandoned house into an Airbnb, like that's like they're not really like craftsmen, you know, they're not really blue collar. That's like it should be like cyan or something, like, or purple, I feel like.
That it's pretty new.
Maybe the purple.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what
Did
were
you
we
guys
saying?
see? Did you guys see that movie, The Beekeeper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jeff-
the new
Oh, that
the
was
new
pretty
trope,
new. That was great.
yeah, the
It's a
new
good movie.
trope is just like regular blue collar jobs being the action hero, like the mechanic, the beekeeper, the engineer, the postman, the accountant. You know,
The mailman, I think it's
The mailman.
obviously
Yeah.
go postal.
the barber.
What was gray collar?
Gray was people that were semi-skilled. So like technicians, I guess. It's like
They can
not
kind of
quite
do
white
some
collar.
shit.
It's like the height of
All
the
right.
blue collar. It's not. It's the bottom of white collar. And it's the height of blue collar. So it's like
Okay, I
the
see.
house. It's like a house slave. You know.
Like you work like a car salesman. I mean, they
It's
can
like
make
you're a
good money.
manager. It's like you're a manager.
Or you
for a
work off
company
of
that sells tires.
or you work
know?
off a commission or something, like a real estate broker or something.
You're like the guy who runs the computer for the tire company.
Or you're the dispatcher of a trucking company.
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the highest you can get before professional without a college degree. It's
Yeah.
gray.
Oh, yo, speaking of college degree, I actually I had to dig real hard to get a copy of my GED because like I was just looking up like bullshit certificates that I could probably just have time to accumulate and maybe like online college courses. And I was like, yeah, I should get a copy of my high school equivalency. And I passed in 2009 in
Nice.
March. Yeah. It was a nice trip down memory lane.
Congratulations.
Right. No, I mean, it was cool because I was like getting arrested. I was a chronic truant. And that year I was like 17. It was my senior year. So technically I graduated before my year did.
Yeah, right. So that works out. That's
Yeah.
cool. But then you can go to community college still. Like they'll let you do like those classes if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I don't want to pay for all that shit. I'd rather spend money on like music stuff. And, like,
I think community college is basically free now. I mean, they want you to pay for books, but if you do it right, you don't have to. And
That's
like
true.
they usually community college, if you don't make a lot of money and you're older than 25 and you're not like a dependent or something like that, like pretty much you can go for free.
yeah, that's true. I could do
I
that.
mean-
Audit some classes.
Credit, no credit. I don't know. It's like whatever. It seems like taking community colleges classes in New York might be like an interesting thing to do. It seems like a good place for it. But
Might be fun.
yeah. Where are you driving, Colin?
I'm on my way to somewhere
I'll be
in
right
Florida,
back.
Melbourne, Florida.
What do you
It
have
is. I don't know what the fuck I have right now. It was some sort of blue plastic containers. I'm really glad that the Border Patrol didn't ask me
It's probably
what
like
I was
sex
transporting
bots.
because I wouldn't be able to tell them. I would have no idea what to tell them. I'm trying to look right now when I'm driving, right? But I'm trying to look for my bill of lading. Anyways, I'm going to Florida. It's a 1,400 mile trip, so I'll be driving for basically 11 hours today and tomorrow.
Whoa.
Pretty much maximum amount of miles possible. They've sent me as far as they could. Where the hell is my BOL, man? I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to Florida right now.
It's a long drive. Have you seen
Yeah,
Zatoichi?
it really is. What's that?
Have you seen it, Chris? Do you know what I'm talking about? Zatoichi?
Yeah, Zatoichi, the rapey blind swordsman.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's
He's
got
like-
a couple. He's got a couple movies where he questionably forced himself on a young maiden.
I mean, he's a blind masseuse and he gets drunk. Like, I don't know if that's. I don't know. That's
Yo.
context for everything. I
Well-
mean, for context, there's like 100 movies with the guy. You know, there's 4 seasons of a television show. It's like the James Bond of Japan. You know, except that he is one actor who plays in every single piece of media except for one 2003 movie, right? So
Oh, it's 40,000 pounds of
he just got cut off.
Reading his load.
40,000 pounds of what, bro? Alopecia?
aloe vera.
Aloe vera. That makes sense, of course. It's a lot of aloe vera, bro.
Hello?
Okay, wait. I was gonna go into like how cool Zatoichi is because
Yeah.
he's the best swordsman ever,
Yeah,
even though he's
cool.
blind. But yeah, you just turned him in. You just canceled him. You just
No,
instantly.
yo, look, I was gonna add my own context. First of all, it's just Japan. All right, Japan makes a bunch of sketchy stuff in their media like that. Like, if you think that's bad, you should see like Hanzo the Razor, which is pretty awesome but pretty terrible at the same time.
Yeah, Hanzo the Razor is a little bit more.
Oh man, I don't know if you could play this
Be right back.
on stream.
I mean, definitely shouldn't put too much of it, but you can see like the fight scenes and everything. This is like totally good. It's a good show. It's a little bit more intense, even I'd say, than Zatoichi for sure.
Yeah.
Zatoichi's cool because it's just these like short little fights. This is way more dramatic, even. A little bit more sadistic. It's not like the guinea pig series, you know. But I just was saying, yeah, go ahead.
No, wait, yeah, I like Zatoichi. Zatoichi's really good.
It's like a gun shot. He does one little sword movement. It's not like a big cling, 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 cling sword fight. Like it's just here. Like watch this here. He's sitting there all blind. Whoop, open it, glow, don't. It's like bam, bam, bam. That's all it is. And now he doesn't swing anymore. So he's not going to get tired because he's probably drunk. And he's blind. You know, I don't know. It's like I think this is the best sword fighter because he's super chill about it. He's like, I don't want to have to kill you, but dead. See, just three movements, and he kills 3 people. One movement per life.
So
know?
I don't mean to nerd out. I don't mean to nerd out about this shit, but I would provide that there were, from the top of my head, there's like 3 types of Japanese swordsmanship that are like really prominent that you could probably just train in. There's Batojutsu, Kenjutsu, and Iijutsu. And they're all forms of swordsmanship, but they focus on slightly different things. Like Bato Jutsu, to Bato is to draw. And that's all about like cutting techniques from the draw and winning within the strike. And then like basically advancing from a straightforward draw cut. And it's a very like big focus on drawing and cutting. Kenjutsu is about the duel. It's like, all right, well, what if you already have your sword out and your opponent has a sword? Then it gets a little tricky. Then you can't just like rush in there and get one hit in. Then it's about like, it's like a chess match. This is my specialty. I love this shit. My favorite style of swordsmanship is Kenjutsu, because when you're just in that feeling of like you and me, like one-on-one with sword and sword, it's like, it's like a, you know, it kind of everything else fades away. And it really is like a mano el mano kind of vibe. It's really fun, especially if you're good at it, because it becomes like a game. You kind of just like make them do what you want them to do.
But it's like where they just like hit swords against each other. So it's not like, you know, the way you'd really fight, because you try to hit as little as often and then try to slice people as much as possible.
Well, if it's Kenjutsu, so it's like the mentality is different. So yeah, you don't want to waste energy. And there's different points of the like sword you could block with. Like you could block with the back of it instead of the actual edge. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you do generally just, so like the way I'm saying,
because instead of just like hitting people with swords, like there's a drunk guy whose eyes are closed because he's blind, and instead of holding the sword like, you know, normally you got this thing and you're swinging it around like Luke Skywalker, no, this dude's got the other end of it, it's upside down, and he's just like, you know, he's like looking around like, boom. That's like, I don't know, it's just one little slice and you're dead.
Yeah, so that would be
cowboy.
More like that would be more like Iijutsu. Iijutsu is like the stuff where you would see like the samurai on his, like, you know, in a kneeling position, surrounded by guys, and suddenly he does like a sequence of attacks and all the guys are dead. It's kind of like that really defensive art of Japanese swordsmanship, like defending against assassinations, defending against like an attacker. Just it's really about the mindset of readiness, which is called zanshin, and you just kind of have this like no mind state where you're just whatever happens, you're super reactive to it.
Yeah, I know, it's like, because this is what's cool to me. There's like westerns, and then there's easterns, Middle Easterns, all these different kinds of things. And cowboy movies are like westerns, and then Zatoichi's like a total eastern, because he's from the Far East, but also because he's got this gunshot drunk. He's a drunk cowboy. He comes from town to town, except he's a masseuse, which is also weird. Apparently in Japan in the Edo period, if you were blind, people just assumed you were a masseuse. That's like what you did. That's all you could do. I don't know. Crazy. That's the whole point of his life, is he rubs people with his hands and he tries to gamble and drink sake. He's like really good at gambling. And sword fighting. I mean, it's total cowboy. It's totally same thing as a cowboy. And instead of shooting people, it's like whoosh, same amount of time as a gunshot. His quick sword flash right there, you know. And again, he's blind, which is cool.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't even see you, and I can kill 20 people. He's constantly killing like 100 people at a time. And most of these movies, it's just like a long, drawn out thing where nothing happens except for, I guess, as you said, you know, he has sex with a geisha or two.
It's
usually like, it's usually like, you know,
can you play like a couple of seconds of a scene? I just got to pour 1 cup of tea real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be right back.
Here, I don't know, just I'm not sure what you're allowed to even show of Zatoichi, man. Like, I mean, it's just crazy because it's an old thing. But how about this? Here, we're gonna celebrate boss Zakichi's succession. Keep the sword in its case. I'm gonna do this gambling thing, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Look, yeah, he's gonna do it. And then he like slides it back, and then boom, he's cut the thing in half. Oh, how crazy is that? That's like dude, I love Zatoichi. He's great.
He's kind of like he's like a Doctor Who figure in Japanese media.
Yeah, he's the best. Dude, he just did it. That cup's gonna break. Oops. See, it's totally a cowboy movie. It's the thing. It's a cowboy movie in Japan in the 1600s. It's perfect. I love it. I've seen probably all of them.
Do you like cowboy movies as well? Are you into those?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen less cowboy movies actually than I've seen Zatoichi episodes. But yeah, I like cowboy movies a lot. I mean, to an extent.
I'm kind of like that too. Like I haven't seen too many cowboy movies. Of the Italian kind.
Spaghetti westerns are good for sure. Like Django, the original Django's, like those are pretty crazy. There's a deaf Django in the snow. That's pretty crazy. Where a dude gets shot through a window instead of like going out to like fight everybody. I like a lot of those. I think the spaghetti westerns are pretty good. But I meant like 60s, 50s Americana. There's some definitely interesting cowboy movies from the 50s, and I've only seen maybe like a 10th of them. There's so many. Yeah. There's like so many hundreds of cowboy movies.
I mean, it's actually interesting because like what really defined the cowboy was, aside from shooting, was also the riding, right? Like the cattle rustling and all that shit. I'd say like the modern iteration of that was like outlaws and motor vehicles, like motorcycles and cars and shit, stealing cars, stealing.
Yeah,
bikes.
Gone in 60 Seconds is totally cowboy movie for sure. Yeah.
I mean, you have like real life examples of that now, but they're just like kids on YouTube who are going like fucking 150 miles per hour on average on the freeway, like squeeze bends, or I don't know, just like a couple of like
those
I wouldn't
Kia
call
kids.
them. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. A lot of them like know how to drive, and they put a lot of fucking money into their cars. You would think more of them would wreck, and I'm pretty sure a lot of kids do. Like they see this stuff, and then they're like, I could do that, and then they just get killed or kill someone else, which is why it's pretty controversial. Like, is it okay to like venerate these kinds of people?
Well, they have a lot more training, I guess, because they get to play video games. So they have like simulators as children, preparing them to be better drivers. Maybe.
Not only that, it's also the internet. So like a 17-year-old kid, instead of spending all of his money on drugs, he could just like go on eBay and like get like fucking turbocharger bolt-ons and just throw it in his like mom's Infinity or some shit and then do some stupid things. Like we didn't really have that kind of access. It's not just like car stuff. It's also like, you know, like I'll get ads for like tactical gear, like bulletproof harnesses and stuff like that, and like weapon sights. I'm like, yeah, this is, I mean, I don't recall life being like this, you know, where you just have like ready access to just all this cool shit.
True. I mean, yeah, you had access to it, but it wasn't like ad based.
Yeah, you had to go through catalogs or something.
But it's super weird now too, because it used to be like, you know, you had to like go look it up on like for a catalog or go online and kind of hide it from yourself. And now it's like, we saw you on YouTube looking at the Virginia Tech shooter. You know, here's an ad for a new jacket that's bulletproof.
Yeah. It's almost like the market wants us to do stupid shit with our excess income. You know, like they just want us to spend money on
as long as it
shit.
Generates more content for them. It keeps it spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, amplification for sure.
And you know what? There was there was a time when people would do these stunts and then they would take steps to like show the viewer it's like, hey, we're doing this safely, or we're doing this at our discretion, we're professional, or whatever. They would say some disclaimer. Now it's like you just see like kids in the hood. It's like, hey, I got this illegal switch on my Glock, watch me just shoot it in the sky for views. I'm like, dude, this is like clown world, man.
Dude,
Don't people make like 3D printed guns now in countries that you're not supposed to have guns? Like they could just 3D print them so they have guns anyways if they really want them.
yeah,
Actually, you know what? It is a double-edged thing because I do like those reels and videos where you see like people in third world countries making magic happen out of very little technology, like just one working modular motor, and they could create like water pumps, they could create like all sorts of shit. I like that. I like stuff like just third world ingenuity.
yeah, like Filipinos making guns by hand, pretty
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they can just like cut pieces of metal and like put them together and have like a 3D puzzle version of guns, you know. So like a lot of these CAD machines in any country now. So it's just stable. I like that. I like also that you can just stabilize any checks and balances that some bureaucrat tries to install over progress, right? And progress is just accelerationism to where everyone can get whatever they want anytime, you know.
I mean, once a people figure out combustion, it's over. Like it's game over. They're gonna, all the dominoes start falling after that. You know, you get combustion engines, you get combustion based guns.
Yeah, I mean, guns are kind of lame though too, right? Like they're not that successful against extreme. Like if they really, there's not. I mean, it's not really the. I don't think that the founding
It's not the
fathers.
meta.
Yeah, it's not the
It's not-
meta of it
it's not the meta.
of the encounter of the duel. Because they
Not
could
just the
always a
duel.
bringer gun.
Yeah, of also like destruction. You know, like a missile could do way more work than a gun and stuff. I think the only thing that's novel about
Or a laser.
yeah, I think it's the refinement. It's like the same argument for gas powered cars. It's like we could obviously think of way better shit, but the 4-stroke combustion engine has been so refined over like decades and decades and decades that it's like it's really, really hard to break away from that. You know, same with guns, I'm sure. Because there's whole infrastructure built on like even something as redundant as like an outdated technology. Like
It seems like people are safer where there are guns. Like places where there are like less guns, that's where school shootings happen or these things. Like, you know, it's not usually in a place where everyone has a gun. I've never heard of a gun expo.
Gun-free zones are usually not very safe for some reason. It's
Yeah, there's
weird
never
that, like,
I've never seen
putting a
shooting
sign
in a
up
gun
that
expo.
says gun-free zone. Like, I don't know why it doesn't just make everybody not use guns, but it
But it
just
seems like that's
doesn't,
where people
you know?
get shot because there's less people with guns than the people breaking the rules.
exactly. It's
But
crazy.
places where they're like, if people were selling guns at a gun expo, you rarely see shooters at a gun expo.
No, why would they if everybody's got a gun? That's why I think it's kind of crazy when people like I don't understand like politics and stuff like that very much because when people like there's a school shooting or whatever and people will like if we just had some armed guards or even armed a few teachers or whatever, like that would just exponentially increase the safety. But people, I don't understand why people fight against that so much. Is it just like they think back to their childhood and like their teachers didn't need guns, so like it's like off limits, they shouldn't have to because like that's sad? Like what is that? Because it would obviously make the kids more safe. So why not just do it if people want to make the kids more safe? I don't understand people in politics. It's weird to me. It's just like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between like tangible power and leverage versus abstract power and leverage. Like if your whole population is armed, I would say that's like tangible leverage, as a tangible form of material power. Whereas if you somehow don't produce anything and yet have this like website that allows you to effectively like run or rule a whole population depending on like how they think, feel, and act, like, I mean, that's abstract power. That's abstract leverage. So maybe the people with abstract power are threatened, by the prospect of everyone else getting more tangible power. It's like, no, that's going to upset my balance. And it could be the other way around too. It's like if a guy's like ruling by a dictatorship or force, he's not going to want people to become like enlightened or some shit, or to free their minds or start educating themselves. Like we're not going to have any of that.
Well, do you have any, like, I mean, I kind of see where you're going with it, but like more directly, like what is it that makes somebody fight so hard against the idea of arming teachers? Like, why is that? Like, it's like, you know, they don't want to hear
Totally.
it, and
like guns
I
in
don't
libraries.
understand why.
Some people hate guns in libraries, and that really bothers me a lot. It's like guns in libraries make so much sense. You know, you have a library card, you can go check out a gun. This bothers some people, though. To me, it's like the most obvious thing, an American thing, that every community would have guns. In the Second Amendment, it basically says that we should have guns available, well-regulated militia, every town. It should be like a voluntary thing. It should be a little bit different than a police corps. It should be access to guns, right? So guns in libraries would keep schools and libraries safer.
There's only one solution.
Yeah, I mean,
we all have to.
If you've got a room full of guns, then somebody isn't gonna come into the room. Like, I don't understand. Like, you say that to somebody, you know, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, more guns is gonna make you safe." It's like, yeah, dude. Like, if a criminal knows that everybody's got a gun, they're not gonna try and like leverage that over everybody else that's around because they know that they've got a gun. Like, I know it makes you sad that like more people will have guns and you don't like guns and guns are bad, guns are evil, but it's like they already exist. You know what I mean? Like, they already exist.
I mostly agree with you, but there's two factors, right? There's one, there's suicides, and then there's two, there's accidental discharge through negligence. So do you think, like, do you think if everyone had guns, those things would go up? Like, more people would just...
I think if you had access to guns earlier, and again, they're in libraries, so you have to train to have access to them, but also you could train to have access to them younger. So
every single person, right? And every single person should have mandatory like gun safety. Everybody. Yeah. That should be a
like
part. That should be a part of being a citizen. You know what I mean? Like how everybody in Switzerland is in the military or whatever the shit. You know what I mean? Like, isn't it Switzerland that everybody does the fucking military? Like, just do that, but for like gun safety. You know what I mean? Like little things.
Yeah, libraries. I think that's the thing. And libraries can give you that certification to an extent. You get like a merit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, like to learn how to use a gun safely in like some sort of library shooting range or something like that.
The only solution is, as individuals, we just have to become so deadly that guns are redundant in this world. We all have to become kung fu masters.
True.
So it's like, gun, I am a gun. And it's just poke someone's eye.
Well, yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because like if you are like a super martial arts master and somebody tries to pull a gun on you, like that gun is now your gun. Is there, like, it's on the floor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, technically, like, you can use anything as a weapon. You can use the person's weapon against them. You can close the distance. You can all sorts of different things. You know what I mean? Like,
you could use smells as a weapon.
You could use all sorts of things as a weapon, man. Like, and people, they think that they have the upper hand. They're not going to shoot you because of all of the trouble that comes with shooting you, right? So you can use that to your advantage to like, oh, I'm in fear. I'm in fear. You're not really in fear, but you're saying you're in fear. They think you're in fear. You're looking like you're in fear. Then you've closed the distance. You have their gun on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, so there's always things that people can do.
Before you fight anyone, you should make the room super smelly, make the floors all sticky, and make it like fluorescent lighting to really put them off their vibe. You get a sick advantage that way.
They don't know what to do.
Crank up the heat to like 90 degrees.
I mean, why are people so... It just, even though people know that to an extent, what's the programming and emotional programming that makes people so against guns? Because they really don't want to see more guns as the answer.
Well, what happens when people...
They really wish, like, this is what I believe, is that I think people truly believe that if we just like don't like guns, and if everybody is educated to not like guns, that we could just put the genie back in the bottle. I really think that people, like, emotionally, they really want that to be true so badly, because guns make them sad.
Yeah.
So
I think it's because like whenever you watch a movie, and what happens when guns come out, you see blood happen and people die, and I don't know, some people just react, I guess, negatively to that programming. I still think guns are fucking cool personally, but I don't know. if you're a weenie.
Well, violence
maybe.
is bad, and it makes people sad, and like, so people that don't want to be like in charge of their own, like, I don't know, it's really like anything I can say on this is like going to be offensive to a million people, you know what I mean? But like, I just look at it as like people don't want to be masters of their own destiny, and they want to just think that they can pray bad things away. But like, the more that you're like in control of like, oh, like bad things can happen, so I need to be prepared for those bad things, then that leads you to being like, okay, I need to understand how guns work, and I need to at least understand how the gun works, so that if I need to use a gun, God forbid, that I will know how to use it. You know what I mean? Which is funny for me to say because I don't own a gun.
Well,
But
in a
that's
way,
just how I look at it.
God gave humanity guns in a very indirect, roundabout way. So
If God intended us to walk, He would not have invented roller skates. That's one of my favorite quotes from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or whatever. I like that because, like, yeah, if God didn't intend for all of this technology to exist, then it wouldn't be possible to create it. So it's what we do with it.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's hard also to come up with like you can't use a logical response on an illogical prejudice. You have to use an emotional response, or emotional answer to an emotional prejudice, like what's causing their predisposition to hate something, a pathological hatred. It's emotional. So we need some way to reinforce the gun in libraries and guns in schools thing, guns in kindergartens,
I think the best thing is to just put someone in a situation where they like have to use
I'm about
a gun.
to lose connection if I do, just know that it's because the connection's going down, and I'll come back later if I get back to full bars. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Based.
But yeah, like I was saying, I think it's the people who really have to use a gun. Like if they're a kid, maybe they're poor and they live in the sticks. It's like, well, I got to kill my food, so I'm going to have to shoot something. It's the simplest, fastest way.
But it's like, so hunting is one thing.
Yeah, people that
learning how to use a bow and arrow. Yeah. This is like mechanical. What were you
people
saying?
that grow up in dangerous places, right? Oh, I'm just saying, people that grow up in dangerous places, they're not gonna really have the luxury of having that emotional into guns or whatever, because it's like it might be a part of their life, like it might be a fact of life or whatever, right? So then there's that aspect of things. I'm trying to kind of ponder, like, how can you appeal to somebody's emotions, unlike, because like they're gonna be like, please don't tell me about the guns, please don't tell me, but like maybe we need to, because kids keep dying, and I wish that they weren't, right? But like that's a solution.
Did you see the Pope gun?
No, I didn't.
Dude, this thing is crazy.
That's a cool gun.
Yeah, the Vatican, straight out of Halo. I think this is to shoot down drones. I think it like shoots a radio to like shoot down drones, aeronautica.
It's one hell of a gun, man. That's what I would say to him. I'll be like, it's one hell of a gun, bro.
This is like keeping the Pope safe, like in all contingencies or something. Like, what's going on?
Well, the Pope's dead, so it didn't really work out. But I guess this is like to keep drones.
Yeah,
from,
it's
like,
not happening.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how advanced we're going. Like maybe that's also like some kind of tech that emits a wave that could just make you nauseous or like really anxious and nervous and scared.
I'm sure it could do that if it's aimed at you properly, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this Pope that?
This Pope what?
What about
Pope
What do you guys think of this Pope that just died? Like, because I'm not Catholic, right? And I just saw him saying a lot of stuff that seemed pretty like not Christian, like I'm not Catholic, so like I don't really have like I just realized a lot of people are really connected emotionally, spiritually to the Pope, but like for me, like I don't know, it just seemed like you said a lot of not very popey things, but at the same time, like, did he really not, or is this just like the media spinning things? Because sometimes I would look something that the Pope said, and then on it, and I'd go and read what the Pope actually said, and it was like, no, he wasn't saying that. He was saying something that like has now been spun to sound like super LGBT friendly or whatever. So I'm curious what you guys like perspective. Maybe you've seen more about him or read more about him than I have. You know,
the Pope seems to like booties on Instagram a lot, or he used to anyway.
Did he like a bunch of booty pictures?
Yeah, he'd constantly get in trouble for that.
Isn't he from Argentina?
Yeah.
So maybe he had some occult Nazi ties, because isn't that where the rest of the?
Well, that makes sense with the booty, dude. Argentina's got like all kinds of booty. Like, how can you not be into booty if you're from Latin America?
Buenos Aires, to be specific.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, they have some of the most beautiful women
like,
because they're like half Latina and half Nazi Aryan.
Didn't all of the Nazis go to Argentina? Was that the place they went?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
because it was a direct bridge gap to the Antarctic.
So was he German or was he like straight up Argentinian or whatever? Argentinian.
I think he was definitely born there, but I don't know if he was like if he had like an ethnic attachment to the area. But I do know he wasn't.
What was his original name? Do you guys know what his like his non-pope name was? What was his slave name?
Jorge Mario Bergoglio, something like that. Bergoglio.
Shit, that could be from anywhere, man. Could be from anywhere.
From anywhere. Bergoglio? You don't think Bergoglio sounds Italian? Okay. Bergoglio.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Like, I don't know, like, you know, how to place it. How old was he?
I don't know. He was born in 36.
He was 88 when he died.
Damn. That's old as fuck.
Yeah, that is old as fuck. He saw World War II.
That's not that old.
Isn't that crazy, dude, that he died on, like, to me, like, I'm not, so this is once again, I'm not trying to be, like, offensive to Catholic people, but, like, he died on Easter, and that's the day that the Lord rose, but he died on that day. Like, to me, that seems like an omen. Like, that doesn't seem like a good thing.
But he probably died, like, a couple months earlier, and they just didn't want to say anything because it was going to screw up the stock market. I feel like he probably, unless, you know, like he did that meeting with Vance, and then that was it. But all right, what about Russell P. Nelson, in charge of the Mormon Church, 100 years old, still alive, running around?
Holy shit!
Jumping.
Is he the prophet?
He's the prophet of the Mormon Church, yeah. And he, you know, it's like that's the thing with Mormonism. Like, you don't have to worry because the popes will die every 5 minutes, but you know, because they drink a lot and they're partying all the time. But like the Mormons, dude, like they're like turtles. It's like getting a turtle that lasts 100 and 200 years. You know, it's great. And now they're all transhumanists, so who knows? This guy could live to be 114 and wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you what.
Are they really into transhumanism?
Dude, well, some of
like
them
officially
are. The Mormon Transhumanists,
like officially, non-officially.
The Mormon Transhumanist Association's clearly into it. You know?
Is there a Catholic transhumanist organization or a Jewish transhumanist organization?
There should be.
Transhumanists. Transhumanists.
I feel like transhumanism probably does exist, but Mormon transhumanism is a pretty big deal, right? Like that's unique amongst religions. It makes a lot of sense though, because then you're trying to make Earth into a heaven-like environment.
I know the Mormons would try to colonize space if they could, if they had access to like the resources and say like we're gonna brave the frontier and spread the word of God in space.
Yeah, that does make sense. Like, and it goes back to like the Lord inventing.
Lord inventing what, bro?
God with technology.
The Lord inventing what?
If I wonder if playing. That goes back kind of to if the Lord invented if the Lord intended you to walk, you wouldn't have invented roller skates, right? And like, so I wonder, because like I'm a Christian, right? And one of the things that I grapple with is like, is it really playing God to use technology to make the world better? And where do you draw the line with that? Like is it by altering our DNA so that we're no longer human or like recognizable as such? Is it making it so we can't meaningfully reproduce anymore? Like, is that playing God to the fullest level that you can't do it anymore? Like, is that stepping over the line? Like, what is stepping over the line to, you know what I'm saying? Like, to making the world better? Because isn't it a good thing to use technology for good? And but a lot of things are seen as playing God.
I think one of the scariest things to imagine is that you really just don't.
Oh my
have to-
God!
This is about technology.
That's good.
That's funny looking. Yeah, Western civilization.
Sorry, keep going. What were you about to say, Chris?
Something scary. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that it's scary to imagine that we just can't accept that. Maybe the answer is just to do less. Maybe, or first of all, there is no line. There is no line to cross. We could just keep going and going and going and keep pushing every boundary imaginable. Or the truth is, we don't have to push any boundaries, and we could just stop right here and stop just progression for its own sake and look inward. I don't know. Either way is possible.
You know what it makes me think of? What it makes me think of is Star Trek Insurrection. How there's the Sona people, right? And they've got like the other people that they're really actually the same people genetically or whatever, and they're totally preying on them so they can live forever, but they already live forever. They're like pure people or whatever, and they live in harmony with the planet or whatever. But like the other ones, their cousins or whatever, like they just can't get down like that, so that they try and like harvest their organs for their like longevity or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Breakaway civilizations. That's a good trope. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
And it's totally creepy.
Go ahead.
It's totally creepy. They're like watching them, like they have like technology and stuff, but the people that live on the planet don't have technology because they don't need it, and they all like do hacky sack for like 8 hours and don't like because they're just so healthy that they can do hacky sack really good. And like the other people, and you find out in the movie that they're really actually the same species, but they're hiding behind technology. Like it's Star Trek Insurrection, and you got those people you got those people called the Sona, and they like pull their faces so they can look younger because they're like pissed off that they can't be young like the other people that just live on the planet without technology. And they like, yeah, hacky sacking for eternity. Like they can hacky sack so good they don't even need to look at the hacky sack, and they're just pissed. They're like butthurt that they can't be them, so they stretch their skin out so they can look younger. It's messed up.
Whoa,
that's pretty deep, man.
Yeah, it's way deeper than I really got the first time. I have to rewatch this. That's crazy.
Oh, it's deep as fuck. Like it really is.
Dude,
shit,
crazy. I haven't seen it.
And it goes into like the transhumanism versus just living in harmony with the planet the way quote unquote God intended, right?
Yeah.
So it's like whether you mutate and change the world or whether you try to sustain some part of it, because really nothing stays the same. So really you have to constantly water a tree or it'll die, or you have to grow new trees to replace dead trees in forests. Like if it's an oak tree, it falls down and you want to have all the trees that were there when you were a kid. You have to grow new trees. I mean, maybe in 1,000 years, maybe in 100 years, but you're going to constantly have to replace things. And I think that's a bit, I was watching, in Japan, right? The Akia thing, that seems like that's what is going on right now in Japan. Is they've got an entire society that's collapsing because nobody is taking care of it. Nobody knows how to build the old Japanese style houses. And so they can only really kind of like automate machines to build like IKEA style houses. That's like the future of Japan. There's no way that they're going to be able to keep making the old style houses, right? Because it's going to be really hard to do that. So people are going to have to come back and choose to learn how to do that, or that's not really like any different than remutating into something else, because now you're rebuilding and you're retaining some legacy tradition, but you're learning it and you're keeping it going. And so that's what's happening. I think a lot of people are adapting and trying to figure out what we have to save from the past. Is there anything worth saving still?
Yeah, and it's really interesting where we draw the line, because like when it comes to because there is no line, like Chris said. So when it comes to frankenfood, right? Like genetically modified food, like, well, what you're doing when you're growing food and you're selecting already, and you're genetically altering the food just from season to season to season already. So like, how is it really very different to like genetically alter it with you know what I'm saying? Like I'm struggling to find the words for what I'm trying to say, but like, how is it much different? And it's interesting to try and like, well, is it different, and why? Why is it different? Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
For
does
sure.
natural, quote unquote, really mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, even sustaining something from the past isn't natural. That's the thing. Any tradition. So, like, that's the other thing I was thinking about. Like, Japanese houses, in 100 or 200 years ago, looked nothing the way that they do 100 years ago, and 100 years ago they look nothing the way they do now. But the way we think of them is from like Japanese restaurants or something. Like, there's a way that Americans kind of remember, like, and that's from that's from Japanese stuff from the 50s and 60s, where they had lumber mills, so everything is perfectly straight. But that's not the way things used to be when they were all hand milled and hand cut and all kind of wabi sabi, right? Which is the way things used to be. So there's no,
Wabi sabi. Tell people what wabi sabi is, because it's a really cool concept.
yeah, like a perfection through imperfection. So asymmetry.
Yes. Yes. It's like how do I put it? It's like if you fuck things up in the most beautiful way, or something.
There's like a uniqueness to it. So like you make a perfect cup and then you dent it, and you do this to every cup. So they all started out perfect, but they all have a fish hooked lip, like they've been, through a lot.
Right, but it's like it's almost like, instead of inauthentic way to give it imperfection, it's like an artful and subtle way to give it imperfection. It's like this whole art form.
I wish I knew what that Japanese woodworking stuff is. You ever see that, where it's like crazy joints,
Yeah.
and
But
where
that's
they're, like,
the problem.
carved
These
in
houses have no
patterns?
nails. The nails, there's no
Yeah,
nails to
They
it.
don't need nails because they use this weird carpentry thing.
There,
technique.
there are
And it
people
just
that
interlocks.
there are
That shit
people
is
that are saving it, but the problem is that the house won't last forever. Like that's
Mhm.
why they're having all these problems. So like you can get an Akia, all these houses in Japan, Akia free, are all for free a lot of the time because they're all trash. They're all falling apart. So because it's wet, swampy, snows, whatever. So the wood warps, and then the house turns on some sort of an end, and then you're screwed, man. You're screwed because your house is not
I love it.
got a single nail in
But
it.
when I'm on the road, and when a rest place, or what do you call it, a rest station or whatever, when they come up right at the perfect moment, like right when I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to pull over right now, and then I get a rest stop, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things, and that just happened. I love it. Synchronized driving needs.
Free houses in Japan, though, kind of makes me excited. It's true. I do want that. What if we just moved to Japan, bro? PewDiePie moved to Japan. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
I wish I could just do shit like that with you guys. Like I would. Like if I didn't have a family and wasn't married, like I would do all sorts of crazy
Bring
shit
them with you. Bring them to
Andreas.
Japan.
Well, you know what I mean? Like it would make it
Your
so much
family should go to
easier to
Japan.
just be like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? It would
Just
make it
like-
so much easier.
A weird one because it's like most countries I would go to, I wouldn't really want to like live there forever anyway. Like I'd like to tell myself that though. I like to go to like Argentina, live there for like a year.
Intend to live there forever.
Yeah, but like Japan's one of those ones where you could learn Japanese, live there your whole life, and you could own property there. You could never become Japanese. It's an ethnostate that will just not allow it. It will exclude you. You could marry in and be like a resident, and your kids could be hafus, and they might treat you better than nothing. But you cannot become right now Japanese. people don't let you vote. Like you're not ever going to be Japanese. It's not like any other country, really.
There's nobody
Complete
that
episode.
becomes accepted into the community. Like there's
You
no
can get
way like
accepted.
somebody
You can
could.
get accepted, but that's different than becoming like a citizen who's considered Japanese. Yeah, like it's an ethnostate. You could marry a Japanese girl, and then your kids could be technically allowed, although they'd be basically treated differently always because they're hafus. And hafu
Like
culture is
in what
pretty racist.
in what way would they be treated differently? Like
Japan's super racist. Like, Japan's like, if you don't look like
Right.
us, they laugh at your face. You know, kind of the thing. It's an
Gaijin.
island with like a very small population, and everyone lives in a city, and they all look Japanese. They all look the same, and if you don't look the same, they don't treat you.
You stick out really quick.
Koreans stick out, right? Like you're not going to get treated okay, even if you're a different kind of Asian. You know?
Chinese,
Like,
yeah, they know if you're Chinese.
Yeah, like
they know,
Taiwanese,
they can smell it.
The Taiwanese have they've great trade deals with Taiwan, right? They're both people that had wars with China, right? Like they there's a lot of commonality. They still don't treat them the same and allow them to just be like treated like the same and vote and everything. Whereas you could be Japanese from Brazil and have 200 years of not being Japanese under your belt, and then they'll ask you to come live in Japan and work in Japan because they're like, well, you're at least ethnically Japanese. So it's like Israel.
So you can't vote. You can't vote if you live in Japan. Like there's no way to gain the right to vote if you're not Japanese.
Not a voter. Correct. Yeah, unless you're Japanese, and
Wow.
like, you can't. I think you can marry in and maybe be allowed to vote if you marry in, but they don't have to give it to you. You know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think.
But you could. But you could earn. You could earn in theory, for all intents and purposes, your place in Japanese society. It's just very difficult.
You could buy a house,
but they
it's
still
really easy.
you're
It's
still
really
gonna
easy.
walk down the street and people are gonna notice that you're not Japanese and treat you different
And your
anyways.
kids.
Even
And your
if
kids.
Yeah.
Let's say like I moved to Japan, so it's easy to move to Japan. That's the other crazy thing. There's nobody in Japan. It's a really small country. So if I wanted to, I could move to Japan with a startup visa. It takes me like 6 minutes, you know, and then it costs you like $15. It's super cheap, and everything's cheap in Japan. You know, you move into Japan, then you find a house that's abandoned in the snow country. Maybe you can get like the house that you wanted to get because the Akia, it's free. You can start working on it. And you turn it into an Airbnb. They let you have a residency. You own property in this country now, right? You own property. You have a business in this country now, right? And they still won't let you vote. They won't let you be a citizen. You become a resident. You can live there the rest of your life. You could have kids born in Japan. But since you're not a citizen, those kids aren't born citizens of Japan. So you have a kid born without a citizenship.
so there's no such thing as birthright citizenship because they're still not Japanese.
Not birthright in Japan. Correct. American birthright citizenship might even be under a question now. So who knows what happens with your kid?
Well, yeah,
they're
but
not
I think
born.
that's only supposed to be if your parents were like if they weren't citizens when you were born. Like it's
Right. So
right?
you should probably still, your kid would still theoretically be an American citizen, and they're not going to give you Japanese citizenship. So yeah, there's people born in
Crazy.
Japan, raised their whole lives in Japan, had British parents or something like that, and they're never going to be, they speak perfect Japanese. They live there their whole lives. They're never going to be welcomed as Japanese,
I see.
Yeah. I mean, I think like moving to Japan from America as an American citizen is like the height of getting lost in an aesthetic fantasy.
That's
mean, yes,
totally true.
it
like
looks
a work,
cool. Yeah.
It's a work dungeon. It's a sweatshop that's been turned like with floppy disks. It's like 80-year-old Japanese people that worked themselves to near death.
Yeah. And I know, and I have plenty of friends who did that. They were like, I'm just going to go to Japan or I'm just going to move to
Isn't that one dude living in Japan right now?
Recently, yeah, Jada, he's in Japan.
Yeah, Jada Flame.
Yeah.
That's right. He's cool,
and
dude.
he's getting like drunk like all the time. Every time I
Seems
talk to him,
happy.
he's always like at a bar. But
Do you
still,
think?
I'm like,
do you think
bro.
do you think they treat like black dudes different than like white American dudes or whatever? Or is it just pretty much the same? Like
I
just
think
you're not
everyone's
Japanese.
different. Everyone, yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, they probably want him to buy them like reefer too, and like play jazz music.
I just wonder if he's considered. I wonder if
Like,
he's
they're like- it's like
considered
the
slightly
50s.
more Japanese than I would be. Like, or if there's a
No.
scale, like
Oh,
if they like black dudes more than they like white dudes, or it's just you're not Japanese, fuck off. Period.
I mean, that if you're that way, then you're that way. Like if there's definitely xenophobia in Japan. But if they're interested in people, like the thing is, most people in Tokyo meet foreigners because there's enough foreigners that come through. There's more foreigners than you can imagine. There's such a small population of Japan. There's so many tourists all the time. So if they want to, they can meet some foreigners on a vacation, and you probably get sick of that really quickly because people just come.
Okay,
try
so
to enjoy
my
themselves
question
and
though
leave,
is, do
right?
you think? My question is, do you think that Japanese people are more favorable to white people or black people, or if it's even?
I don't know. Probably even. But I don't know. I have no idea.
I would imagine it's even, but I'm curious. It would just be funny if they like black people.
I bet you that it changes based on the media. Like
It's a
if there's
bad cutoff.
there's movies that are coming out that they're probably impacted by. Like Will Smith movies probably made them love black people.
Will Smith.
You know what I mean? Like Japan.
Yeah.
All
I
the
want to
celebrities
do
go
a
Japan,
vote,
sure.
like a poll the Japanese. Who do you like more, white people or black people? They'll probably be like, "Oh, black man gooder. They must better."
You might be surprised,
We'll see.
Colin. We never know. You might be
I don't know.
surprised.
I really don't know.
That guy, there's a guy who does like interviews like that, Japanese street interviews.
Based on racial questions.
He asks all kinds of weird
Oh,
questions.
I bet that's hilarious.
Where is it? Where is it at?
Well, Japan
Okay.
has cool other
Gosh,
stuff like convenience store food.
Who
is apparently
better,
in
black
Japan.
man or white man?
Takashi has street interviews like that. I bet you he probably would, answer something like that. Why are dreadlocks trending in Japan? This kind of answers your question right there. You know what I mean? Because they're all trying to
Ooh,
pull
I
it.
knew it. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm onto something.
Dude, they want to be cool. Yeah.
Please,
I like
black
those
man,
dreads.
come
Look at
move
that-
here. White
look at
man,
that
stay
hairdo.
home.
Look at that fucking hairdo, bro.
Dude, that's expensive. It took a lot of money.
Like, do they
Like,
call black men gaijin or just white men?
Why do so many Japanese dudes have dreads?
That's a good question.
Because they want to be cool, and they probably saw
Yeah,
a movie. That's what I'm
Aren't-
imagining.
and people
You're on
are
a small
cool.
island. You watched a movie and you thought, "Cool, I want to be like that guy." on
Aren't
the
they
TV."
loosely related to that mystical civilization that disappeared, the Inu or whatever from the old kingdoms?
So the Ainu aren't that
The Ainu.
mystical, and they didn't disappear either. But like the Ainu lived in the north, right?
And the
in
Japanese
Hokkaido.
killed all of them.
They killed all of them. Yeah, and this is something they don't like to talk about, but that happened. They killed a lot of them, and then they bred them to death essentially. So you can't really tell anymore. But they were basically just Nordic people. They're like white Nordic people. There's different kinds of European looking people that
And
were up there.
they were down
And they
with
were
the fairies.
Japanese.
They were down
Yeah,
with
the
the fairies.
Japanese.
That was their mystical connection.
So
with the
most
spirit world.
everybody in Japan lives right down here. You know what I mean? But then there's this island up here in North Japan, and they didn't realize. Yeah, they didn't really. It's pretty much empty now. So you go to Hokkaido. It's like Hokkaido Island, North Island, right here. It's this big landmass of
Did
Japan.
they genocide the white Japanese people? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I
That's
think it's
kinda
something
what
like that. Yeah.
Kind of saying something like that. Yeah. So basically, and you can see like it's
That's sad.
there's like one city in Hokkaido left. It's like 2 million people. Look at the star forts, everything. It's very interesting place.
Ooh, star forts. What is
Yeah.
the deal with star forts, dude? They're everywhere, bro. Everywhere.
Volcanoes, volcanic lake. I want to go to Hokkaido. Hokkaido
Mm.
seems great.
Yeah.
It's crazy to go to a place in Japan where
It
there's
might
really
get you.
nobody. They'll get you. They'll get you.
Go on a nice ski trip.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you could get a house in Japan in a ski village because I guess it's just too cold for people,
Mm.
so they can't handle it. So
They can't hang.
they just can't hang, man. And like everyone wants to live in Tokyo, which is just don't go to Tokyo. Basically, like why would you?
I think Osaka is the hip spot. Like if you're a Westerner
Is it-
and you want to have a good time in Japan, you move to Osaka because you'll get like apparently hella laid. It's like a big culture over there.
What
Aside
are
from
what
that-
are the three? What are the three main islands?
I don't know. what they're called. Hokkaido is the North Island. Sapporo, Japanese island names.
Is Okinawa island,
Okinawa
or is
an
that
island.
just a
It's
place?
smaller island.
Okay.
Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu. Shikoku.
What
and
one
Kyushu.
is Tokyo on?
Tokyo's on Honshu.
Honshu. Okay. Did you guys ever play Muramasa?
No.
Oh, it's this really cool video game that's like got like a cartoon art style it's called Muramasa and the Demon Blade, and basically you're trying. It's just super tied into Japanese culture, and it's an amazing, cool game. Just check it out sometime. Muramasa, the Demon Blade. It's a Vanillaware game. They made all of those really cool looking, like cartoony looking, or like hand drawn looking games. But it's really good. It's fully like deeply immersed in Japanese culture. It's really interesting.
I think one of the coolest tropes that you see in Japanese media is when you'll have like a series or a movie series or something that takes place in the modern day, and then they'll do like a period piece take on it, like your favorite sitcom or whatever, your favorite Japanese modern sitcom, and then they're like, this is what they would be like in the Edo period. And I've always gotten a kick out of that. Like
I think that game is in the Edo period.
Yeah.
Come to think of it.
Yeah, it said so in the description. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of the period piece twists and spin-offs. Like
yeah, it's really cool. You've got this like this demon fox bitch that like fucking saves the game for you. It's awesome. It's a good game.
Yeah. I mean, you've always been really knowledgeable with like JRPG, like specifically Japanese role-playing games, you know, like you just know that shit.
Yeah, like I've watched a few documentaries, grew up playing them, stuff like that, you know. I love video games a lot, like as an art form. When it comes to video games, I feel bad for the older generation that they don't get down on them, because like at no time in history have video games existed. So they're kind of like not really grateful to be alive, in my opinion, because it's taking every single art form that exists and jamming it all into one thing. Video games are beautiful. They're every kind of art all at once, and all kinds of talent, all just pouring their talent into this one project. Will it get off the ground? Will it be good? Will it come together? It might not. It's very difficult. So many moving parts. Video games are a beautiful thing. And I think that like everybody should really might as well just be grateful that they exist, you know, like I said, at no other period in time have video games existed, and why not just be grateful for such an amazing thing? And these old people, they're like, you kids and your video games. It's like, dude, they're amazing. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I agree. I have a few thoughts on video games. First, the nostalgic ones, which is like, do you remember when like people would get hyped on video gaming magazines? A few of my friends had like really good collections, like of like PC Gamer Mag or Game Informer or something.
I had way too many Game Informers. I was like, I don't even care at a certain point.
Like, I ended up getting rid of mine. Yeah, I ended up getting rid of mine, which was sad. But I cut off all of the covers that was cluttering up my house, man. Of the covers. Compromise. My wife's like, we need to get rid of trash, and you don't even read these. And I was like, all right. So I cut off all of the coolest covers. I kept those and called it good. So I have a bunch of covers. I can't remember what it was. The one that they give you for free at GameStop, I had a shitload of those because I had the GameStop, what do you call it? You know, membership.
Yeah, and I remember like a big evolution of gaming journalism was when they went from gaming mags to like TV, taking over whole TV networks, like with Tech TV, which quickly turned into
Tech TV.
G4.
Yeah,
G4.
Tech TV was
G4.
rad. G4 sucked. I didn't really like G4 at all, but I feel like I
watching extended play before it was. It used to be
Tech
called
so
extended
good.
play back when it
Yeah.
was on Tech TV. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they called it X Play, and then shortly thereafter it was called G4 TV. But
Yeah,
I remember it was X Play for like maybe 6 months before it became G4.
G4 wasn't so bad, but like Tech TV was so good. It's really sad what they did to it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
started out
My
as
brother
small albums,
loved
like,
that
very
shit.
tolerant. Do the screensavers. That was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you really just needed like showrunners, like writers, people with the writer's mentality or trained writers to like go from like journalism, whatever, covering things on printed media to like writing whole segments on TV shows and just filling out time blocks, which is probably like easy to do if you're focused on a topic like technology, video games, cell phones, you know, it's a lot to cover.
Yeah, it's practical because they just had a bunch of lessons and tips, so they could always like cut in between news and experiments with lessons and tips, and that was great. I mean, that was definitely ahead of anything else that was existing at the time. They kept it interesting all the time. But
now, if people want like news on video games, or if they want like just even opinion pieces, they'll just go to YouTube and they'll follow, go to their favorite channel who covers like who does video game reviews, and they'll just watch that shit. I think really what it just means is like, it's like people have been gravitating towards faster and faster information. Like to be in the know on games meant I had to get the magazine every month. Then it turned into I have to watch like tech TV every fucking week. And then it turns into I have to watch YouTube every fucking day, you know?
Dude, all the dudes from Tech TV that went on to make Dig, I think it was, or is that right? Dig? What was like the
I
thing?
think so, yeah.
In the old, so
It was
like
kind of like
these,
Reddit.
yeah, it was like early on,
Mm.
so they could up like social media, this idea that you would up like things publicly, and it was kind
You
of
could dig
early, prototypical social media, and they were all trying to figure out how to have online video before anyone had online video. So it was mostly like people from the Tech TV circuit that like invented that kind of prototypical YouTube vlogging before it became YouTube, you know, when things were just on random RSS streams.
Yo, speaking of this era,
Yo.
Colin, you said you were really thankful for video games. I think for me, I was really thankful for like music media, because I used to listen to like CDs and shit like on a fucking Walkman. And then when I got my first MP3 player, my mind was like blown. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, how many
Yeah,
songs
dude.
did I fit here?
Yeah, MP3 players were the shit, man. When the first iPod came out, man, like that, you felt like you were living in the future just to have an iPod. It was the best, man. Like, and not everybody had an iPod, and I had an iPod. You know what I mean? And like, God, I love that time. But did you guys see the remaster of Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls?
I did see that.
Oh my God, man. I'm so glad it works on my Steam Deck. Like, man, it works on my Steam Deck, and it's amazing, man. Like, it's cool. It's almost like they knew that I was going to play it, because I've played the shit out of Morrowind. I played the shit out of Skyrim, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play Oblivion. And so I paid $5 and I bought Oblivion, and the day that I bought it, they're like, oh, by the way, they're going to shadow drop Oblivion Remastered. And it was like, bro, right when I'm about to play Oblivion, it's like they made it just for me. And I've been playing it, bro. I like it even better than Skyrim. Like, but if they didn't redo the graphics, I don't know if I'd have the same. It's like it's totally modernized it to where it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful game. It's really amazing.
I think, yeah, it's Todd Howard strikes again. But
Yeah, that was really smart. I think that Microsoft forced them to do it, though, because they haven't been really making great business decisions for the last little bit. And I think that maybe the one good thing that has come of them being bought by Microsoft is that they probably put the fire under their ass to remaster Oblivion. And it probably saved their company, to be honest. Like, unless, because people are going to wait, and then if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it sucks, dude, like, and they're going to wait for a long time because God knows when it's coming out. And like, everybody's just kind of like had it with their company. I think this kind of saved them before it was too late.
The truth is that all of these game companies suck. Very few game companies are making anything good new. Experiments are not working, and the old games are the best games, and they have to like remake those games. It's like Tony Hawk Remastered is working because it's something that already worked. That's all that they can. I don't know. I'm not saying every single game. There's definitely some experiments out there. Schedule 1's cool, but it's few and far between.
You know what's always been weird?
It seems like the only company that can even make good games like right now is pretty much From Software, and everybody else is just kind of fucking up. I really like. I keep on saying that I really think that the AAA like gaming companies or whatever, like the developers, they need to just say goodbye to AAA for a while. They need to just make a bunch of experimental AA games, and that's what they need to do. I think that would do a lot of good because they wouldn't be so balls deep in with their budgets that they can't make anything new. But if they could just do AA projects, maybe do a AAA project like once every like 2 years or something like that, and it be an event that everybody like rallies around, like, oh, the AAA game's coming. But like, don't do that every time. You're fucking up the whole industry. It's like it's coming down, dude, because they can't make anything new. They can't take any risks because everything's got to be a home run because they put so much money. It's like we're talking like $300 million into one game. It's crazy, dude. It's ridiculous. Same thing's happening with movies.
One of my favorite parts about games now, though, is the ability to connect, especially when you're like a dad or something or a working guy and you don't have much free time to meet up with your buds. You could just like all log into the game and play together. I've always liked that. And it's like one of my favorite like virtues about new technology is just improving ways to connect with people. If you could do that, at least that's fine. But it's like, obviously that's going to come with all sorts of baggage, like shitty AAA games, for example, and like crazy culture wars.
It's too bad because all of the online games, they're all like getting political and stuff, and they've got all these microtransactions that I used to be a huge online gamer, and now I just don't even get on because it's like I'm going to butthurt some person and get banned, like my whole account, because I call them a fag or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's too much.
Yeah. It's the gamer culture. It's the world of gamers.
Like, I miss the days where little kids could just say, you're a bitch, and everybody could just have fun. You know, it's too bad.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, yeah.
I love that.
That's not my biggest worry. I think my biggest worry is that the gaming industry has collapsed into such a big, like you said, big industry. There's only a few players left and they have to own all the studios. And so that's scary because it happened really quickly. A couple years earlier, there was all of these different companies and all of these different ideas. And now that's impossible because now everything's like football teams. Each company is like a football player on a team. And there are all of these like game labs that are being shuffled around. Their ideas are being taken and they're not making money fast enough. So they're being shut down and consolidated. And, you know, it was basically because movies were being censored at that point because the movie industry was so fully controlled and that exploded. And now video game industry, they just want to control everything.
Well, I don't see why they don't. Right. Yeah. And I don't see why they don't take a look at indie games and see how indie games are so successful in having these lower budgets and just a lot of quality, a lot of innovation. You know what I mean? Like, why don't they just take a cue from that and be like, hey, maybe we don't need to blow our entire load every game we make. You know, maybe we could just try to not do that for a while.
I mean, that might end up happening, but still just the idea that games were a place where, you know, like what's it called? Metal Gear Solid. You had like weird
Mission Impossible. You got it right the first time.
There's a lot of programming in those things that are pretty important, and they take those programs out of games now. There's less surreptitious information being kind of leaked into the reality. Like it used to be subliminal messaging in games was replacing movies because movies were so censored and so scrutinized, and all of a sudden you had a new field for things to be watched in games, and now that's going to be, I think, taken away because people aren't able to get their messages out as much anymore because they're going to be controlled.
Are you saying all the propaganda is go over to video games now?
I mean, you know, like, so rocks, yeah, for sure. Not just propaganda though, but also maybe kind of like interesting positive things that the artists were trying to say to us. Those things are going to be hard. You know, anytime the director or the writer tried to say something that was beneficial or uplifting, it had to go through all these censors as well. And video games for a while, they were optimistic. and I think that could go away.
Right.
as
They
well.
didn't even need to go through all those censors. Like they could just say whatever they wanted to for a while. It was kind of the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
There was a lot of innovation from basically 1990 through like 2005, 2006 was like just the golden age of video games in my eyes, because everything was just, it was new. You had all of these new mechanics. You had all of these, like every game pretty much had the opportunity of being something new, innovative, great, and unique. And it's just, it's gotten to the point where like every game is basically the same mechanics. You know what I mean? Like it's like either you've got a first person shooter or you've got like a third person adventure game, and they're all like I don't know, like Assassin's Creed. Like it's all the same template for how a game works nowadays, you know? Like you've got the first person shooter and you've got
Unreal Engine,
Assassin's Creed.
I know what they could do. I mean, you guys aren't going to like it, and it's probably going to happen. What they could do is they could just inflate the price. They could just inflate the price of games so high where it's like, it doesn't matter how shitty or good the game is. If you want to play a fucking game like that's up to date with like modern technology, and they're going to sell you big on that. And then it's like, yeah, games cost like $100 now, $200 now to play this game.
That's what's going on now. The Switch is like $600.
So
what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do.
And Nintendo games are going to be like at $90, $100.
Like artificial inflation of
that's
value
why,
by just jacking up the price.
That's actually why Oblivion was such a big deal. It came out at a time where like Nintendo just announced the Switch 2, and they're saying that they're going to make games like $90 or whatever, and then all of a sudden Oblivion releases as like the most probably wanted game all around. You know, it's going to sell a lot, and they sold it for $50, and they were pretty much like, they were responding directly to Nintendo and their price hikes.
Like, so versus if I want to play Knights of the Old Republic, so Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic's like from 20 years ago as well. It's kind of similar to the age of the Oblivion game, and instead of paying for a remastered version of the game, because they didn't make a remastered version of the game, there's no $50 version of the game. You can go on Steam and buy the game for like $10 or $6 or $3 on sale, whatever it is.
I think it's like $5 right now for that particular game. If I remember right.
Like, it's super cheap. And then you get the mod, and there's a mod that has like AI upscaled all the textures, and the entire community's come together to make the game mod look brand new. And all of a sudden, everything's higher polygons, and there's like open up missing maps and deleted parts, and all of that is free, right? Because it's a community up-driven thing for people that want to restore and keep the game going. And that's the thing that, I mean, they can't afford that. Obviously, they want to sell you this game for $50, but this has come up over and over again. Like the community-driven mods are better than the remastered versions of things. Like the Star Wars Battlefield went from like 500 megabytes to 20 or 60 gigabytes, which is huge.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no reason for it at all. It's the same game remastered. Only they're using stolen textures from the mod, because they shut down the Battlefield mods websites and then took all of the files and sold them.
The assets.
Assets.
It's plain as day, but
ridiculous.
I think when like even indie developers, 2 AAA developers really they go like full steam ahead with the idea of putting AI assets or AI agents within the games, so that they could like, I mean, if they can't be sentient in real life, but you could get damn close. Imagine what they could be as a characters in a video game, in a pre-written narrative. They must be really good. Like, I think it would be sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think that's the other thing that's missing is people don't get what people want to see or care anymore. Because like the Sweet Baby or whatever, like people were focused more on like what they thought.
Oh, the Sweet Baby Inc. thing.
Yeah, like that was the goal: is get all these companies. So it's just Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, but basically Microsoft that owns most of these game labs. Make all the game labs have to use Unreal Engine, right? And Unreal Engine's kind of the other side of that, which is, there's nothing wrong with, I think Fortnite's actually pretty good, and Fortnite's crazy how good of a game it is for what it does. It's like it's really ironic that everyone's worried about AAA games using the biggest physics engine, the most expensive, that uses the highest resources of your system, but it's all Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine makes Fortnite. The reason that this company's famous is Fortnite. Fortnite works on your phone, on your kid's phone, without any cell shading or any sort of graphic upkeep. It can be really crap, and that's fine, and that's amazing, right? Like that you can play this game on like the worst of devices because people don't really care what games look like, and they know that, and yet they still make this like super real, hyper realistic Unreal Engine stuff, which is moving its way into replacing graphic effects in movies, special effects in movies. You can
they used that on The Mandalorian, I believe. They used Unreal 5, which coincidentally they also used Unreal 5 for Oblivion remaster.
Still with Houdini, but yeah, because they're using Houdini to run the textures, to build the L system textures, right? Because Houdini is what you use to make all the Houdini is what they use to make like perfect looking water, like all of Avatar and the Avatar in like that's all Houdini, and then also the monkeys and the chimpanzees.
For movies and stuff.
Yeah, Houdini's like the special effects software that kind of similarly it like got to the point where there was nothing that could compete with it, and now it just sort of like has to run this industry. So for me, it's like I don't even care about Avatar or Rise of the Monkey. What's the Rise of the Planet of the Apes? Is that the one, or Rise of the?
Just the way you say that is hilarious. I don't really care about Avatar.
I don't, but it's like I really don't. But I do want it to exist because they spent like $100 million, paying programmers to part of that movie's budget is to make more software for Houdini, right? So all of this crazy stuff that made Houdini possible, and Houdini's really impressive. It's the coolest. If you want something that makes like perfect looking water,
I have a question for you guys. Like, what about a game do you think, like, what are the fundamental qualities of a game that gives you a huge player base? Something like Fortnite or fucking Minecraft or something like Oblivion.
So like rewarding narcissism and like making your friends be able to play with each other. So this is a weird and unanticipated one, is that people need to work with each other. And it actually is surprising how much that really helps, is that people can prove. I think it's because it's, again, narcissism though, is that you can show other people that you win. It's not the only thing, but it's a reward function, right? A major part of it is like, there's like, I forget who did this, but one of the game designers figured out if you shoot a wall and then there's no shot in the bullet hole in the wall, then that's a dissatisfaction because it feels like the game's not listening to you. It's not responding to what you're doing. So to reward your narcissistic behavior, they make bullet holes in the wall, which is one of the most popular thing that ever happened in video games, for you to shoot your name in the wall, like in GoldenEye, have the paintballs, different colored bullet holes. People love that. So it's always about reward function.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what really exactly is the special sauce, but I do know that like it seems like if it can be popular with kids, like the things that are most popular with like from 10 to 20-year-olds, it's gonna kind of make or break your game. Like a lot of things, like Fortnite or Minecraft or Roblox, they're all really popular with little kids, right? And so they're hugely popular and hugely successful.
I mean, I like that. I like what that whole of the thing about the whole rewards thing with like rewarding your narcissism. I mean, because it does kind of, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought that like, video games really are just a constant dopamine hit, like a mallet hitting a piñata. But there's that argument, but then it's always like counterintuitive to all the artistic arguments for it, like, are video games art? And some people say they aren't. Some people say emphatically it is. I think video games can be art. They're not always art, but like, just like they definitely contain art. Like a dumpster could contain art that doesn't really make it art.
Yeah, I mean, I think games are definitely an art, and most of these games, all of these games, they have to make like a board game first. Like Grand Theft Auto starts out as a board game, so they can kind of role play it with dice and everything to figure out what the values are. And then if they've made it work and it's fun to play in their boardroom, then they use that to make the real video game, because it's hundreds of millions of dollars to make a game. So you have to test it on some kind of a system. So it's really a system before it's a graphical experience, right? Like that's what has to matter.
Yeah, because if you could make a whole game on pen and paper, pretty much. And so it really is about the system. Yeah.
Like if it doesn't play fun, if it's not fun to play that way, it's not going to be more fun necessarily with graphics, right? Like that's the thing. Although that could change, because a lot of the point I think of pushing through with physics engines is that pretty soon you'll be able to be in a more immersive version of experiencing that. Like right now, we just can't experience what we've created. Like it could be really cool. Like pretty soon, if you can go into the Matrix, then it's going to be worth it. All of a sudden, people really will like video game graphics. They're like, oh, these are really important to me. Because
it's indistinguishable. Yeah.
Yeah. Once it becomes like you're living in the actual Matrix, then it's going to change everything. And that's not 20 years away. That could be way quicker.
Yeah.
So.
But as for the classical model,
I can see that coming within like 12 years, where we're literally like have straight up VR. That's
it
really,
could be
really amazing.
What's frustrating to me is like it could be faster. It's probably going to take a little while, but it doesn't need to. The technology is way closer than it has to be. And I keep wondering about it. Like if we just put criminals and handicapped people with Neuralink right away, it'll soften the blow to the future shock for a lot of people. But we should just start moving really fast that direction. But sorry,
let's just get it done.
I mean, think about it this way. It's going to change. It's going to cause such a ripple of effects. Like if, say, 30% of the population just locks themselves away in this simulation, whatever, what would that like? Wouldn't that cause also? I mean, wouldn't that cause significant changes in like the regular world? Like, you would like the streets would be slightly emptier. Maybe population would even further decrease.
True, but I mean, they have to. It depends on what they allow people to do, and there's also so much subliminal messaging that they'll probably enforce. So I don't think that people will end up using this and going away from it, being more free from it. So it makes a lot of sense for people to have this happen in a prison to start with. I think it's the best example is you could take someone who's committed a crime and then force them to not just you could disable them. They're like trying to commit a crime. You can just disable them. And also you could, just like shock them when they're on the ground shaking.
Some Black Mirror shit.
Yeah. But you could also more Black Mirror. You could just replace their personality with a personality that likes picking up trash on the weekends or something. Like if you got someone who is a terrorist or a murderer or something like that, you could just make them never murder again. And also, instead of putting them in a jail that's sort of a waste of taxpayer money, you can repurpose their bodies with a new personality. I mean, whether it's altered carbon you're downloading from somebody else eventually, probably at first it would just be you make somebody who's nice, right? I think that's going to happen first, probably, because then people will say, okay, well, at least in that circumstance, it's better than the alternative. But it might take 12 years, like you're saying, because it might take a while for people to see it and want it, because so many people are afraid of being like the first people to have technology that's going to be outdated within 12 years. Whatever you have today is going to be outdated, right? So
yeah,
no one's going to want to get this surgery like every 10 years.
It's true. I just don't want any of the surgery stuff. What I do like about, I mean, I don't know if this even counts as gaming, but like with the drone racing stuff, like they have a VR headset and they're piloting a drone as if they're like in a little plane. That's cool. I like that.
Totally. Yeah. Those are
driving.
Those are available. You can get that. Sit in a truck while you're like flying around with your little headset.
Yeah, RC kits and stuff. That's really cool. I mean, I think there's a lot of like potential in that. Like if they could just like do like first person remote control technology, right? Maybe make like robots with like functional limbs, like with like crazy intricate servos and stuff. Like that'd be cool.
I feel like whoever is like the first person to live to 150 is probably already alive today, right? Like the technology's already
Yeah, I
getting
could see
there.
that.
Probably.
And maybe because of that, whoever's like within that person's lifetime, if not already alive today, is somebody who will probably have a longer lifetime than that. Like 1,000-year lifetime might be within the next 100-year or so period, right?
Yeah. Yo, Colin, where'd you get the sandwich?
Did you just go make a sandwich, bro? In your truck?
My wife made me some food.
Sweet.
She actually
Food.
she made so much food that there was too much, and we were afraid that it wouldn't fit in the fridge, and I just barely got it to fit. It's so nice. I'm so lucky. I love my wife. I love you, Natalie. I miss you.
Base.
That should be like on every guy's bumper sticker. I love my wife.
Yeah, right, bro.
Have you ever noticed that like no songs ever say like I love my wife? Ever?
That should be the chorus. That's actually the first verse, maybe. But
We need
Sometimes they talk about like loving their girlfriend or something like that. But
Or
can you
somebody
think of a
else's wife.
single fucking song that's like my wife is so good or like there's nothing.
There's got to be some country songs like that, right?
No, their wife left them.
probably
Oh.
especially not. Yeah.
It's
Like
like
your wife. My
it's
wife
like-
took my dog and left, and I'm gonna miss that dog. That's
or
the
or it's
song.
like my
That's
wife's
right.
a total my wife's a total bitch and I'm an alcoholic loser, but we got each other, so
That's right.
That sounds like a nicer, idealized song. 'Cause why would they have each other? You know.
I think
It's like
that's
a
like the
pop song
that's the closest we get, right? If you hear like an R&B song where it's like you ain't shit, well I ain't shit, but we got each other.
Yeah, right. We ain't getting no younger. Let's get married. Yeah, basically.
That's
That's
as close as it gets right there.
That's got to be some brainwashing shit, you know? Like,
Yeah, of course it was.
because
right?
how many
It's
people
like
in our
How I heard that at their high school prom. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
they were like, my life is just like
It's
that
like
song.
how no Disney movie has like two parents. It's kind of creepy, dude. Like none.
All
There's not
broken
a
home.
single fucking Disney movie. Yeah, there's not a single Disney movie, classic Disney movie or otherwise, that
Well,
has
Lion
two
King.
parents in
Lion-
it. Like if you
Lion-
think of Toy Story,
Lion
okay,
King.
Lion King.
Well,
Well, he
like
dies.
but his parents are in a polycule, so it's like even though
Oh
there's
shit, you're right. The Incredibles wasn't even Disney, was it? Is it? Wait, it wasn't
well, technically, yeah. 'cause
Okay, Incredibles. Maybe
Yeah.
that's one then.
the big hit.
Maybe that's one.
it? Big hips. That's what you get out of it. The big mommy hips.
They were good.
She was hot, dude. She was hot for a computer thing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, most of the bad relationships are just because of like a divorce, and a couple of them are widows. You know, like Little Mermaid, Ariel. Her dad's a widow, right? But there's
Mhm.
some weird thing going
Pokemon's
on.
the same way. Pokemon's the same way. They don't have any parents together. It's always
Fragile emotions.
where's the
yeah.
dad?
Pokemon is a psyop to get the Japanese people to feel more okay with being slaves. It's like in the end, we're all just Pokemon.
What?
In the end, we're all just Pokemon living for our trainers.
Getting the ball.
Yeah.
I was watching a bunch of Kiyoshi Kurosawa movies recently, and I recommend those movies. This dude, he's not related to Akira Kurosawa or anything like that.
Send
but
me a link of something dope, and I'll watch it.
Dude, he has
Or
a bunch of weird.
Well, I won't watch it, but I will glance at it while I'm driving.
He has like bumpkin. Is it the bumpkin soup? I thought it was like blumpkin. I'm really glad I didn't
Oh God,
search that.
I hear that
instead, but
those are gross. I don't want
Yeah.
to know what they are, but I hear they're not good.
It doesn't sound good at all. Yeah, I think it has to do with chili or something like that. But
Something like
I don't
that.
know. He made some weird like. I want to call this like the American Pie of 70s, 80s, early 80s Japan or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like pretty ahead of its time. But he also did like License to Live, The Cure, Bright Future. Bright Futures is my favorite. It's this weird ass movie where this guy has a friend and they work at this factory and they're not getting paid enough, and crap there, and then the dude's got like a jellyfish, you know, and the jellyfish, he's acclimating it to fresh water or salt water or fresh water so that it can move into Japan up the river systems and into the plumbing and like kill everyone in Tokyo or something like that. It's like a weird ass plan that he has, but he's the
Sounds
hero.
like a bad day for everybody.
Yeah, but like, I mean, the other thing is this is 2001 or 2003 or something like that. And everything's already super weird in Japan at that point. Like, there's these kids who all have these like headsets, and they're all walking around the streets of Tokyo in a gang with all these white shirts, and they're all wearing these headsets, and they're all listening to each other. Like, they can talk, and they're all one singularity, like a hive mind that are all a gang. Which is it probably was happening, right? Because they had access to headsets. Maybe like all the kids were wearing headsets and they were all on the same frequency at the same time, and they thought that was cool. But also, isn't that exactly what we're at like right now? Like, even if that was just a metaphor, because now that's what we're doing.
The scariest part of the hive mind is probably the whole no secrets thing, right? Where it's like that's really what makes you truly individual, is the barriers within your own mind, like knowing what happened and not having to share it if you don't want to. And if true hive mind means even that barrier comes down, it's like, what the fuck? You know, it's like, who are you really? You know, what are you at that point? Except, you know, you are we. And I don't know. I mean, can people get over that? I don't know. I can't imagine like the current version of humanity being okay with that. If push came to shove, I could imagine plenty like, yeah, I could give up my individuality and join the hive commune. It's like, can you really?
Well, just imagine if you go crazy because you can't have any secrets, but everybody knows that you're about to kill yourself, and then they all like save you because they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't even freak out at that point.
Well, it's not even the
fucked up.
secrets. It's not even the secrets as so much as like the last barrier of your privacy, you know?
Right.
Which is your story. And once you lose that, once you lose your narrative as uniquely yours and everyone could experience it just as viscerally as you, well, then it's not really, you know, that meaningful as far as the hive is concerned.
It would be really interesting if we could do that voluntarily, like just for like pure empathy's sake, you know, like to really experience what somebody's mind state is. I think that could be interesting for like furthering humanity's caring about each other and shit.
I mean, that would be a crazy like techno drug, right? Like just this machine that accumulates all these lived experiences, and you just plug into it once, so you donate yours and you experience everyone else in a minute, and then you unplug and you're like, whoa, I lived the lives of like 10,000 people. You could say
it'd be like Harry Potter, right? Well, you know how Harry Potter has that shit that it's like that silver liquid, and you go dip your head in it, and it's like, whoa, like, and you experience their memory. I can't remember what it's called, but that was a cool concept. If we could do that, but with technology, that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be scary. Would you do it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta. I mean, it's like tripping out, you know, on a new drug. It's like, wow, I gotta try this shit. You know, like
I think that'll be there soon.
Yeah, I wanna feel. I don't know. Would you really want to feel like what it feels like to be a woman? Would it freak you out? Would you come back changed? Would you be able to unfeel it? That's my problem. Is like, you know what I mean? And then
well, essentially, well, you could also come out like super like superhuman. You know, like imagine living all the lived experience of a physicist and a gymnast or a trained athlete or something, and then all that just accumulates into you.
Yeah, stack memories for education.
I'm
is gonna be
get
really
over
cool.
knowing what it's like to be a woman, though.
Doesn't seem like that much fun. Like, you know, menstrual cycles. There's a lot of things that you have to deal with. It seems like a lot of effort.
Being a woman,
Yeah.
I think it's just like adapting to anything. Really, people can just adapt to
all the
shit.
dynamics.
He's still thinking about being a woman. All right.
I'm just joking, women. I don't really thank God every day I wake up.
You do, thank God. But
I'm
maybe not because
joking.
of that.
It's jokes.
Well, we're pretty deep. We're 2 hours deep.
Yeah,
Let's
other
say,
things.
no, let's give him like what are you something you're grateful for, Jack? Oh man, you have like bad signal though, huh? So this is like
Just kidding.
the worst.
Oh no, I made a joke about being a woman. Come back to me. Let me think for a second.
All right. Well, Chris, what do you got?
I'm thankful for energy. Just the fact that we could identify energy and consequently manipulate it, control it to a degree. It's cool. You know, be mindful of your energy. Energy, yeah.
That's a good one. All right. Do you have another one, Jack? He said energy.
Oh, I'm mega mad, like thankful for Oblivion, dude. Like it's really cool. I'll just put that out there. Check it
Yeah.
out.
Sweet.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right.
This must be me.